Hey guys, Tarke here, and today I'm trying something completely new and totally not derivative of Anthony Fantano's Let's Argue, but I wanted to make a YouTube video and I was like, what should I make my YouTube video about? I know, I'll ask Twitter. If you like this idea, I will do this again. I'll make this a fairly regular, maybe weekly or bi-weekly thing, but let's just get into it. So, I wanted to make a YouTube video, didn't know what to do. I'll do my best to answer Twitter's suggestions. So, make a video about how in some games, endgame is the actual game, and how GGG tries to avoid this by keeping the campaign semi-relevant. In D3, and I think even in WoW, endgame is basically all you want, and leveling is just a chore. Why call it endgame if it's the main game? And to follow up, someone replied to this, agree with this, I'm leveling a character in WoW for the first time, and even with friends giving me legacy stuff and explaining everything, it seems incredibly tedious and dull. This is a good topic. Right. Now, this is a very interesting thing, and it's something I've spoken about a lot, and I'll kind of break into 2 points because I have different opinions when it comes to strict MMOs, when it comes to strict ARPGs, and Path of Exile in particular. So this whole notion that, you have games which the fun only starts at a certain level or after a certain time commitment. I hate that idea, but that doesn't mean that you don't need the leveling. I think that leveling, and in that sense, should we say a campaign mode? I think a campaign mode, and if I say leveling future, I mean campaign. I think that storytelling in campaign is amazing and a great way to introduce people into game mechanics. So, that doesn't mean, however, that I think that your fresh character off the bat should play and feel like shit. A great example of a game which makes your first character feel like shit, Path of Exile. Example of a game where you actually quite rapidly gain cool things, Diablo 3. PoE's getting a lot better recently since you've gotten more interesting support gems like level 4, stuff like Ancestral Core, stuff like Mirage, Archer, etc. I think that the way to do it is that you keep campaigns. I think campaigns are good, both for ARPGs and MMOs, but you focus on your early game not feeling like shit. If the early game feels fun, people don't mind doing it. Now to talk about WoW, for example. So, BFA just rolled out. I enjoy leveling in WoW. I've always enjoyed leveling in WoW. Once you've done it a million times, that's when it sort of becomes a chore. But I think the first time you ever level in an MMO is an amazing experience. What isn't fun in MMOs is when you make your first character and they're like, you're new, we can only trust you with Fireball and no other spells for another, 30 hours because we don't want to overwhelm you. Wildstar made early combat feel really good, really impactful. It had its own issues where the leveling was way too slow in that game. But I think really the core fundamental is you want to make sure that your game is fun from the get-go and that your early game is representative of your end game. And that's where most things really suffer. So I think Path of Exile really doesn't represent its end game with its early game, and as such, you'll have people who would enjoy the end game who never see it because they think the game is only the early game. Personally, if I want to try out a new MMO, and there have been loads of MMOs I've wanted to try before, and I'm really passionate because I think they've got a really interesting vibe or a really cool world about them, if I make a brand new character in your brand new flashy MMO, and I've only got one spell, Fireball, it's like a 2 to 3 second cast, and that's the only thing I get my first 4 or 5 hours of playing, I'm not going to play that game unless it has insane, Witcher level storytelling. And most of these games don't have insane Witcher level storytelling. So yeah, I think that campaigns are good if the campaign is good, and if you can't make a compelling campaign, then scrap that shit. Right, next up. SSF tips and tricks, the mindset that you should have when starting SSF, and the importance of setting goals through an SSF playthrough. I will do a video specifically talk about how I prepare a bit closer to Delve League launch, but some just general advice when it comes to the whole setting goals and stuff and the mindset you should have. More so why people don't play SSF. A lot of people don't play SSF because they feel like, oh, if I play this, I'll never get to play any fun builds, I'll never have any interesting items. You'll always have interesting items if you just play shit drops. And I find SSF enjoyable because you have limited choices. Anyone who's ever been to any kind of art school and been on any kind of arts course, you remember the first ever assignment you ever had, it was some really stupid bullshitty, you have to make a film or you have to make a piece of work using, one stick of charcoal, it all in one line, or you could only be in this room with this many props, that to be exactly this long, and they give you really overly restrictive things. It sounds horrible, but actually having that heavy restriction forces you often to be more creative, and it means you have to channel that creativity more than having complete free reign. Obviously, later on, once you know what you're doing, you want to have that free reign. You don't want to be overly schooled for too long. But that I just think is a really good example because I went to art school, and I know a lot of art school students will agree with that. You know, at the time, it's like, oh, dude, this is so fucking lame, man. Like, let me jump off buildings with a DSLR and just be like, pia, pia, pia. Oh, I'm dead. Maybe not that extreme. But, you know, people kind of have that level. Why can't I just throw paint at the wall, man? Like, come on, dude. And that's what SSF is. You start off with heavy restrictions. You don't have access to much. The more you play, however, the more you sort of cultivate, the more your game knowledge grows, the more kind of fun and experimentation you can have with that. And then for raw kind of like tips and tricks, really, the main thing that I always do is I watch everything that Uber Elite, everything that Carve does. And then if I ever get like bored of listening to Uber or Carve, I'll ask Rise and hear the information third, fifth, seventh hand. Slightly wrong, but mostly intact. There are amazing resources out there if you look for them. A lot of the guides are so good that if I was to recreate them myself, it'd literally just be like, hey man, I could just recreate this video, or I could just say, just go watch this video. So yeah, make sure you're subscribed to Carve, Uber Elite, Rise, both on YouTube and Twitch. Just ask questions. And yeah, just have fun. And when it comes to setting goals, small goals, enjoyability is key. Just focus on having fun. You'll have a good time. I would like to hear your thoughts on the balance between mapping and delving in the next league. Many people feel like it should be possible to do delves indefinitely and skip mapping entirely if you want. I personally disagree with that. So this is kind of interesting. This kind of actually rounds back to the whole like campaign and Diablo thing. So in Diablo, for example, they completely cut out the campaign and they only had adventure mode. And I think Delve could actually quite easily run that risk. If Delve becomes so amazing and so good, and that was the only thing we skipped the mapping completely, that would be bad, and I agree. So using the Diablo example, when adventure mode first came out, people were like, brilliant, this is so much better than campaign, fuck campaign. But after like 3 years, you kind of want to go do a campaign run just for the lols. And if that is super unrewarding, it feels bad. And I think the real challenge with delving and mapping is making mapping feel rewarding and fun in comparison and in contrast to delve, while at the same time not having it so mapping is the chore that you have to do to unlock resources to do delve. So currently it seems like, you know, I think Beck said there'll be 1 to 2 like fuel nodes in every zone, which means that you should very quickly be able to like fill up your fuel tanks, go delving, and when you run out you'll have to jump into a few maps. The real trick is having it so that delving is a fun and exciting new mechanic, but it doesn't just like blast maps out the fucking water. Because yeah, the last thing you want is this amazing system to make everything else feel like shit. But if it is this amazing system, maybe you have to fully embrace it and kind of say scrap the old. I don't know, it's a hard one. This will depend on people's personal preference. We've been kind of predicting that doing full MF mapping will still be more profitable. And if you want to be a boss farmer, then you're going to be mostly sticking in Atlas. So we might see where natural niches appear where it's not really an issue. So if what your thing is farming Shaper and Elder, well, you're naturally going to be spending a lot of time in the Atlas. If you want to farm out specific div cards, you'll be spending time in the Atlas. If you want to do like Masters and Incursion, stuff like that, you'll be spending time in the Atlas. So this could potentially just give more options. But I think it would be completely bad, and I agree it'd be completely bad if it was 100% delve and you never did anything. So yeah, that's sort of that. Update on Crohn's things. Crohn's is Crohn's, boring long-term health disease. If you don't know, I have it. I've had it for I've been diagnosed for like 6 years. I've actually been quite ill the last few days in particular, and then I just slept like 20 or so hours, and I'm getting ready to fly over to Ireland in 2 days, and that's why I have a fresh haircut. But yeah, I'm dissolving still, increased dissolve, but not the worst. I have a infliximab infusion, which is like, or Remicade, or whatever you want to call it, which is like my main treatment. I have that literally the day after I get back, so it's actually a really full-on time period at the moment, health-wise. Like, so the next like 10 days is gonna be pretty intense. But hopefully after that I should patch up, and I should hopefully be feeling in a pretty good state just for the new league launch. But yeah, it's always there. It's always a bit of a nuisance. I've been particularly ill recently, but not any more or less so than usual. I've also recently been trying to be a lot more like active physically to sort of help with things. I've been doing a lot of walking. I've been doing very light weight exercises and whatever, less so recently because I've been feeling really bad. And yeah, don't expect me to get super jacked at any point, but basically trying to keep my body in the best position to handle feeling like shit all the time. Because yeah, the realities of Crohn's is you'll feel like shit most of the time, but if you feel like shit and you're in slightly good health, then you'll probably be more active than if you never looked after your health, and then you just get worse. So yeah, just sort of playing the maintaining game at the moment. Is Raider faster? Fuck no. Sneakers. I've recently been getting into, you know, non-shoe shoes. I strictly used to only ever wear like dress shoes and boots. I have a new pair of boots on, actually. These are a pair of just black Frank Wrights. Got them in the sales. They're like 20 quid. Knee, by the way. And I got a pair of Chuck Taylors also in sales, 25 quid, a few weeks back. And these are actually kind of like sneakers and are relevant to this thing. But yeah, I like them. If I had money, I would have an insane shoe collection because I'm actually really into clothes and fashion. You don't really get to show it much on stream, but I am actually really into all that stuff. And my go-to like outfit, sorry, just break everything around me, is a chair, but yeah, slim jeans, some kind of boots or sneaker, a t-shirt or a button-up shirt with a denim jacket, and I'll grab my denim jacket. This is my go-to. At the moment, if I'm not wearing a denim jacket, I'll wear like a coloured overshirt. I'm really into mustard, but I really like this one because it has fancy things on it. So it's got some like butterflies and some flowers and some bees and some wasps, because I'm really into yellow at the moment. So it's got some patchy boys, and yeah, that is the premium Tarke aesthetic. So yeah, if you ever want to look like Tarke, basically look like you think you're in a band while not actually having any musical talent, wear shirts, wear denim, wear boots. Feels good. Save your ideas for next week. Rip that idea. Teach exiles how to get grill. I've had a 6-inch shabs as my Tinder profile for 6 months and I've had 0 matches yet. I have had limited experience on the whole Tinderinos. I did use it. That's how I actually met grill. I was on it for about, I think about a week, just under a week, maybe like 5 or 6 days. General pro tips. If you look presentable, then people are more likely to swipe on you. If you have any animals, make sure your animals are in the pictures with you. I had one with my cat, and I was looking sort of okay-ish after taking like 1,000 selfies. I hate pictures. I'm fine being in front of a camera, obviously, but I don't picture well. I never learned how to take pictures of myself. Like, I was into photography, but I never learned how to take pictures of myself. My family was never a family which really took pictures, so yeah, I never learned how to like hold. You know, there's people who are just really awkward in whenever there's a group photo, just kind of like, that's me. So yeah, just perseverance. Eventually get a half decent picture of yourself somewhere near an animal, and you should sort of be all right. Also, just as an off-topicy thing, I think general rule of thumb, if you're feeling kind of lonely and a bit depressed or whatever, get yourself some clothes that you like. If they fit, that helps. And sort of just put yourself out there, because worst case scenario, you'll have an outfit that you like, which means you'll look nice when you go to the shops to buy your food or whatever. But yeah, I think generally it's good to put yourself out there and try not to be too much of a raider, and you should be a-okay. And hey, you might end up like me in a long-distance relationship and being like, this was a good idea, and this was a good idea. So yeah, put yourself out there, guys. And for you saying you haven't had any luck with your 6-link shabs as your profile pic, maybe put your 6-link shabs next to a fish. I think that taking pictures next to fish is like is like the off-meta pick, rather than just like getting a dog. Be near a fish. It's more of like a statement piece, or a turtle. I feel like I would swipe for someone who took like a half-decent pick near a turtle. I'm like, dude, that dude or that grill is, you know, turtles. How much bullshit personal loot is. After being super lucky getting a 350 socked pair of boots, these talk about Battle for Azeroth, World of Warcraft, by the way. From Heroic, I got absolute jack shit from Mythic Dungeons. Well, I got worse boots. Personal loot is a dumb system for like top-end raiding, I agree. I actually kind of like it for scrub tier grouping. However, I don't like some of the limitations. So I've been doing a lot of content with some of the old people I used to raid with in Legion, and we've been spamming loads of 5-mans, and the Azerite slots, the helm, shoulders, and chest, TLDR, those can't be traded regardless of anything, and that is bullshit. My friend plays a chamois, I play a hunter, we both use mail gear, and I had 2 helms drop and 2 shoulders drop. He didn't get any helms or shoulders, and I couldn't give it to him. That felt dumb. So in that system, yeah, I fucking hate personal loot. But I think the main issues are the limitations with trading it to other people. The actual, like, how it ends up in your bags, I don't really mind so much. But yeah, RNG is RNG. I do think it's dumb. I can't be like, hey man, take my shoulders. Yeah, you should be able to give loot to people if you want to give loot to people, basically. Something I would like to make but not have enough time for, underused unique analysis. There are so many hidden gems out there which are barely used. This is actually something I'm really into, and I had a notebook when I was back at uni, and I was first like, I want to get back into making Path of Exile videos. Pardon me, I had a notebook where I planned out content. And I have like 50 notebooks out of my room with like planned out videos that I never got around to. Or videos that I did sometimes get around to. And one thing I wanted to do was do like a weekly design a unique process. Now I'm currently in the process of having a divination card designed. I'm kind of holding on to it for a really long time. So if that's something you'd kind of like to hear or see about, maybe I'll make that a regular series where maybe like once a week, once every other week, I could do either designing an item or reviewing an item. But some underused uniques off the top of my head, which I think are really good. The Gull. I think the Gull is super underrated and super OP. It gives max res. Max res is really good. Delve uses max res. I know you can't stack it with Lore Weave, but yeah, max res is OP. So play some like max res Pathfinders, but they're reworking Pathfinders to be about poison, not flasks. Play something with max res, like RF even. Also gives loads of regen. It gives movement speed. Just use the Gull, man. The Gull is such a fucking criminally underrated item. Another really good item is the Arns Helmet, which gives like, is it 50% reduced critical damage taken? It's pretty fucking good. Also the Arms Shield. It gives max res. Pretty fucking good. General rule of thumb, actually, and this is another thing to go back to the whole SSF thing. With the limitations of SSF, you often find yourself using a lot of these like super crazy underused uniques because you don't have access to like the crazy multi-modded, you know, Elder Shaper helm or, you know, triple slammed, mirrored, you know, opal rings or whatever. Yeah, you get to have a lot more fun with like quirky, unique interactions in SSF than in Trade League, which sounds weird because it's like, but you won't always have access to them. But when you do have access, you plan around it. So yeah, SSF unique analysis. And that is that, unless we've had any last minute additions while we've been recording this video. But yes, let me know if you enjoyed this video and if you'd like this to be a reoccurring series. And make sure you follow me on Twitter, because all the cool shit goes on Twitter. We do drawings, we sometimes do surprise videos, we let you know when we're going live. And we give you sneaker videos, because the best sneaker videos in the game are from my boy, Brad Hall. Brad Hall boys. But yes, I'm Tarke. This is a Gull, which can also be found on my store, by the way. Have a good day. Bye-bye.